Good morning, everybody. It is 7:29 in the morning on this wet Wednesday, the 19th of September. It is the 19th of September. That is just nuts. Isn't it? It's crazy. Who knew? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on in our markets. Let's go over the trades from yesterday. We'll do that on the Ichimoku. So we had a trade idea on gold that was really just kind of a not much of a change from what we had originally. Gold long at 1204, which triggered last overnight really, and we see a nice condition here on the hourly for that trade being all right and active. Aussie dollar long at 72.10. Obviously that has worked out pretty nicely. We see it trading up 32 pips above that. That's nice and in profit. US dollar, Canadian dollar, we wanted to go short at 130.17. Obviously that has worked out very nicely. I've dropped down pretty nice. Doing a little bit of a retracement here. And then we had the couple pairs that we don't really trade a lot of or look at, but we had the Aussie dollar, the Aussie yen. We wanted to go long at, where are you at? 80.79. That worked out very nicely, we can see. Excuse me. It's like 60 some pips up. Dollar Swiss, which is right here. We wanted to go short on a pullback to the 96.37, which did happen, but now we just see that that it started to trade up a lot. The dollar's catching a bit of a bid here against some news. And then we have the pound Aussie dollar. We had a long idea on this based on the 4-hour and the 1-hour Ichimoku to go long at 183.08. Where are we at here? 183.08. That was yesterday after we got done talking. Where are we at? The 18th. 183.08. We did not actually get to trade up there. So that was a nothing. Whole bunch of nothing right there. Okay. I want to take a quick look at the astro phenomena here. Take a look at our, well, what the hell is that? So this is daily chart of the euro. These diagonal lines here, this is the heliocentric position of Saturn, and we can see that this is acting as a pretty stiff resistance zone. So we're struggling to hold above and trade above this Saturn, longitudinal Saturn line, which also coincides with the 180-degree Gann level. So just kind of another example of why we're facing such difficulty moving higher there. The dollar yen on the daily, facing pressure up against this 135. That's a pretty stiff resistance area, actually, this is. Aussie dollar, we are still trading below the planetary, this is Saturn as well. We're still trading below it, but we're seeing this significant bounce here. In fact, we've been talking about this bounce for a while, and talking about how this could probably be one of the better trades for the rest of the year and in the entire year. We get back above the 72.90 zone, we'll be pretty much in the clear to trade back up here. New Zealand dollar, similar situation. Longitudinal harmonic is right up here, but we need to get back across the 90-degree Gann angle. 90-degree Gann square of 9. Excuse me. I've been tired ever since I got back from the gym. And then over here on the pound, on the daily, is this the, this is the square 9, isn't it? Why is it? There we go. That makes more sense. Not a lot to look at here. And gold. Gold actually on the daily looks pretty nice. And it looks pretty nice on the weekly as well. We should pay attention to that. And be aware of the conditions that we're looking at. We could see gold catch a little bit of a bid here. All right, let's bring it back down. Market geometry time. Here's gold chart coming up to this midway in the law of vibration. Continuing to see this arc hold as a support zone. Yesterday we closed an inside bar, and now we're currently trading above the high of yesterday and the high of that next bar over here. So that's a good, I mean, ultimately we'd like to close above the high, this high. We'd like to close above Monday's high. That would be ideal to trade this inside bar. So we'll see how that plays out. Euro. Again, man, this has been a whipsaw activity here. I mean, just look at this. We've had from the 13th to the 14th. And so, like, we've had Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. We've traded in these crazy ranges. We've had like a 50 pip gain, 60 pip loss, 50-ish gain. I mean, this is just nuts. This entire zone over here. Let's look at the volume profile as well from our kind of our swing highish breakdown area. This is the price we're trading at is big. So the volume point of control is the red line right here that's near this major harmonic. So at 116.73, this is where the most volume has been traded at a particular price level. That's what we see. So more people have bought and sold at the 116.89 level than anywhere else. This also happens to be a major harmonic level, which is a very important level. And we have been oscillating above it and below it ever since May. All right? Really, we've just been no real changes. And then recently, we've had 5 breaches now, 5 back-to-back days, 5 back-to-back trade days of wicks breaching higher here. So and without any like big responsive sell-off. So this is telling us that that price is kind of testing that level as an area that it wants to go. When you see activity like that, when you see prices kind of coil and penetrate areas of support and resistance without strong opposite movement, usually is a good sign that that price is telling us, hey, by the way, this is the direction we're trying to go. So again, this is some pretty wicked swings here. This is choppy as hell. This is nuts. And we've got so many things going on here fundamentally. I mean, we've got so much trade talk going on between the U.S. and Canada, the U.S. and China. South America's governments and currencies are collapsing all over the place. Turkey's is collapsing. I mean, Iran's is collapsing. The Russians are collapsing. It is a recipe for disaster. And I think sometimes, like, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's different because I live in a small town, but I wouldn't know how to deal with it if I lived in a big city and my money was no good, or I had to spend almost all of it just for a little amount of food. I mean, when broad swaths of the population end up like that, social order just collapses. I mean, it just falls apart. And we're seeing that all over the place. Oh, signs of things to come. Okay, so the euro, There we go. We got that going on. Let's see. Look at Aussie dollar market geometry. Aussie dollar, beautiful head and shoulder setup. We were talking about that yesterday. We have it actually drawn in the New Zealand dollar, similar chart. Where did we face rejection? Right here. The 72.64. That is a normal pivot in price. Typical to see prices bounce and get rejected away from that level. Very, very normal to see that happen. But it is very nice to see us trading up here. In fact, if we look at this on the weekly, that's a pretty sexy looking weekly chart. This is a pretty awesome bounce. I mean, this is hot. Now it's raining again. US dollar, Canadian dollar. Caught a bit of a bid here on the daily. Looking kind of doji-ish. Could be a bullish setup, but we'll see. New Zealand dollar cruising higher. Actually broke its neckline. Thing to pay attention to. Dollar yen facing resistance where? Right up against this major harmonic. This is the major 4/8 harmonic. It is the hardest area for prices to crack and trade above or below. This is the inner 4/8 harmonic between the two majors. Between the two majors, this is the hardest area for prices to trade above or below. But it's a tied Fibonacci level, the 786. Fibonacci level is also that same price level, so normal to see prices find some resistance here. What else do we see there? The oscillators are in extended conditions. The stochastic RSI is actually sloping down. It could be a pretty bearish signal there. Pound dollar continuing to move higher. Found resistance right up on this 1/5. Probably see a pullback down. We'll see. There's some news on the pound and the excuse me, on the pound and the euro. The real reason we have this big dive down in the pound dollar and the euro dollar is that Prime Minister Theresa May in Britain, she rejected the EU deal because of the Ireland issue. There's a issue, like Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but as part of the EU's thing, they want to. There's and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but either Northern Ireland or the EU wants Northern Ireland or both to be part of the EU still, in as far as using the same currency, using the euro and all that jazz, and that's not something that the Brits are willing to capitulate on. That's a sticking point, which I guess I don't fully understand. I mean, that is a British. To me, that is a British issue. That is part of Britain's sovereignty. Some might argue that that is actually Irish sovereignty, but I can tell you whose sovereignty it's not. Brussels. It's none of their business. And they've been doing nothing but sticking their nose in everybody's business ever since the euro and the Eurozone was created. So yeah, issue there. Very contentious. Let's Ichimoku this guy up. Starting with gold. Let's see if we got anything on gold. I mean, really, no real trade difference on gold, just because the gold trade is the same trade that we've been looking at ever since Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, really, looking for that breakout at 1204, which we finally got. Got to get these over to the daily and the 4 hour. And we have the 1 hour. Daily actually looks pretty nice. 4 hour looking pretty nice. 1 hour looking pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, we got a little selling wick there, but yep, still looking like it wants to move higher. So keep an eye on that. Check out the euro. God, The euro. Geez, look at this on the daily. It's just nuts. Now, what is a good sign is that the lagging span is staying is above the bottom of the cloud here. That's a pretty good idea. Pretty good idea, and that's pretty good to see. Looking over here at the euro on the 4-hour, little heavyish looking. I mean, there's a trend line here that's holding so far. On the hourly, it looks like I found some support at the bottom of the cloud. The lagging span is below price, below the conversion and the baseline, but still above the cloud. So keep an eye on that. Really not looking at a trade there on the euro. It's so choppy. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar, very nice that we're above the baseline here on the daily. But again, the market geometry, you know, we see where we got stopped is that right above here is that pivot. 4-hour, consequently that pivot seems to tie right in with this level here. So on the 4-hour, there's actually a pretty clear breakout level, and that would be lagging span crossing above. Again, when the lagging span crosses the cloud, when it moves out of the cloud above or below, that is the sign of a trend change. And the 4-hour is a pretty good, you know, chart to look at if you want to get, you know, if you want to go like, okay, well, you know, how, if I want to get into a trade early on the daily and I don't want to wait for all the conditions to be met on the daily, I feel like for me at least the 4 hours of a fairly safe bet, if you want to call it that. But Aussie dollar breakout, see the lagging span get above the cloud and get above this high here. So 72.56 is a good entry. Take a look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. So on the hourly, a little bit of a drive up here. Daily below the cloud still. Actually, this is a good area to just re-enter a short because we've tested that baseline and failed to move higher. And yeah, I mean, this is a perfectly fine area to short if you're not still holding the short. Mostly on the daily Ichimoku. New Zealand dollar. What do we got here? New Zealand dollar. 4 hour. A little bit farther away compared to its cousin, the Aussie. But on the hourly, we're looking probably okay. Daily, I'd like to close above the baseline here, certainly. I mean, we could wait for it. It's a little bit up there, 66.31. Dollar yen. Now the dollar yen, looking at the market geometry, looks pretty top heavy, okay? On the daily, this looks like a pretty nice move up. On the 4 hour, we're pretty extended. On the 1 hour, we could be showing some weakness. Really, there's nothing there. Pound. Possible short entry on the pound. If price and lagging span cross below, it'd be like at 130.76 on the hourly. What am I doing writing it there? Okay, 130.76 though. Where is that at on the 4 hour chart? I mean, that would be lagging span. I mean, there might be a bounce there, so really it's hard to see if we could get a trade in there. And then 130.76, we're talking about the conversion and the top conversion line on the top of the cloud being a support zone. So probably not a good idea to enter in that short. Pound Aussie dollar. Here though, there might be No, don't like it. Pound Canadian dollar. Yeah. Might be able to try it on the hourly. 170.11. Because if there's a trade deal that comes out that says the U.S. and Canada are cool, we're besties again, then Canadian dollar is gonna shoot up like crazy. I mean, here's like if I were to bet on a currency into the rest of the year on a currency gaining strength against the dollar, it would be the Canadian dollar hands down. Why? Because they're the only other smart bank that is considering raising. Not only are they raising interest rates, but they are going to consider raising them faster. That is just something that they need to do. It's because they're Canadians are smart with their monetary policy. I mean, I don't know if any country is really smart with their monetary policy, but certainly our neighbors to the north and us seem to, do the medium amount of harm with the not the best of I don't know. I'm trying to make a joke about government, but it's not working, which is weird because usually you can make a lot of good jokes about government without even trying. Okay. Anyways, so if there is a trade deal that comes out with the U.S. and Canada, we should see that dollar tank. We should see that Canadian dollar drive up. And then any strength from the Canadian dollar due to U.S. dollar weakness is going to just cause it to rip apart any of the pairs it's pitted against. So the pound Canadian dollar would tank, Aussie Canadian dollar would tank, Euro Canadian dollar would tank, Canadian dollar would be on a rip roar roll. That's exactly what I would like to see. And Canadian dollar pairs, oh man, they move. Dollar Swiss, bullish on the hourly, bullish on the 4-hour, except for facing some resistance up here. In fact, shorting here is what I like. Why? Because on the daily, while we are right now above the conversion line, it's kind of an extended move. And we haven't gone any higher because we're close to the top of the cloud here. The 1 hour, we're very, very extended. For the dollar Swiss, we're way beyond a normal extension from the baseline. So this is just kind of due for a pullback anyways. Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar. Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar. Yeah, not seeing much here. I mean, there is, but I don't want to take it. Okay. That is pretty much that. I love the Ichimoku system because we get so many fun little trades and yeah, lots of trade opportunities too. Anyways, hope you guys have had a good trade week so far. Hopefully your Tuesday was good for you. For the rest of we're gonna be here this afternoon again at 1 o'clock for Decrypt Markets. We had a long session yesterday, like for an hour and 20 minutes. Probably go long again. And let's see. Yeah, if I don't see you this afternoon, I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.